Hey everybody, Adam Savage, and I am at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery with contract paintings conservator, Anna. How are you?
So good to see you.
So good to see you. We have a portrait of Michael Gratz here.
Yes.
I don't even know who that is, but tell me about
Philadelphia businessman.
Okay.
This particular portrait is a pastel, and it was done in 1808 by William West after a portrait by Thomas Sully. So a copy, a reproduction.
It's a copy. That's why there's so many that look just like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Why did the Philadelphia businessman want copies of a painting of himself?
Great question.
I mean, I guess
I wish we could go back in time.
He liked his face.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
So what are we going to look at here?
Yeah.
You've got some equipment to see this with.
Absolutely. So a lot of what we do as conservators is really look into the making of particular artworks and get to know the artists and how they worked. And one of those techniques that we use is ultraviolet induced visible fluorescence, basically looking at something with a black light or UV.
And what kind of stuff can that show you?
Yeah. So in this particular instance, we're going to be talking about pigments.
Mm-hmm.
So it can differentiate different types of reds in some cases, or pinks, as well.
It can tell you
as
what
whites.
chemicals were the base for those colors.
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
It kind of gives us a really good idea of where to go next. So this is a non-invasive technique. We're not taking any samples from the artwork. We're just looking at it. And then from how the materials react, we may decide to do additional analysis that would be more involved.
Does it sometimes give you an idea as to how the painting was constructed as it was painted?
Totally.
Oh,
totally.
amazing.
Yeah. Sometimes you can see, well, in this case, it's a pastel, but sometimes you can really tell different layers in a structure of a painting. And specifically with paintings, the varnish layers tend to fluoresce. So you can see if there are different varnishes over time.
Because they like to varnish stuff all the time.
Yeah, totally.
And you've got to deal with that because they didn't all color the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Portraits in general are well loved.
Yeah.
Which
is for good or ill?
Great. It's great.
Yeah.
We love that people really engage with portraiture and think of it as, a part of that person. Mm-hmm. And as a result, over time, conservation as a field is quite modern, but people have been fixing things up forever.
And they've been doing it forever in some really, really questionable ways.
Right. Or ways that were appropriate at the time.
Right.
But they just maybe could have aged a little better.
They didn't know what we know about acids and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just one technique to really start the process of technical art history research.
So you spend a lot of time with these portraits in the dark, unveiling their secrets. When you first turn on this light, is there something you expect, or is every portrait different?
Every portrait's different.
So you're starting with a blank slate every time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's thrilling.
You have to really spend the time to get to know the individual artwork as the initial phase. So that's like our examination phase, if you will. And from there, we can come up with appropriate treatments through imaging techniques. But yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in conservation departments at different museums. And there's a lot about, inhibiting future degradation, et cetera, stopping and just isolating and stabilizing. But I hadn't thought about how much time you guys spent, as you say, getting to know the painting.
Yeah. It's the best part.
Well, so tell me the kind of things you learned. Tell me what you uncovered.
Yeah. A lot of it has to do with the process. And actually, after we look at UV, we're going to look at another non-invasive imaging technique called infrared imaging.
Okay.
And with that, we can really see, we can sometimes see underdrawings. So we can see how the artist initially planned out the composition, if they made any changes or adjustments with time. That's some of the coolest stuff. So
now I know that ultraviolet light tends to loves to go find polymer chains to destroy. Do you have a limited amount of time you're exposing this to the ultraviolet light?
Yeah, exactly. Especially for works of art on paper, UV can cause chain scission in the polymer. So that results in kind of a breaking up of the cellulose, and then it becomes really brittle. Think an old newspaper it's been left out in the sun. So for works of art on paper, we really really reduce the UV exposure with time.
Even no matter, I mean, I'd imagine sometimes you just want to sit there and look at it for a long time, but you've really got to, you can't just sit there and have it bake.
We're really strategic. So we're not going to go through a full capture method, but I will show you some images of this full scale on the computer.
So you're able to take images as you're doing
exactly. So we can reference those.
Yeah.
So we really, we reduce our exposure time. We can keep the artwork covered before we take an image while our UV lights are warming up, things like that.
Gotcha.
And then we take our image and we can cover it up as quick as possible.
Well, can we see what it looks like a little bit? All right.
Let me get the lights.
It's so cool.
So I've had the UV warming up here. And if we can get that light as well.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you can really see the pink in his cheeks and lips.
The pink on his lips. He looks like a velvet painting.
He absolutely does.
It's like oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the 70s came from, right?
But also so much of the coat comes out.
Yeah. So let's look at the coat a little bit. Sometimes with pastel works, they've been fixed. So occasionally you'll see almost like a spray pattern of it's almost like a varnish.
Right.
Really lock in that pastel.
We would use aerosol workable fixative today, but they didn't have that back then.
Exactly. They kind of used the straw mechanism to spray adhesive. So maybe not an aerosol, but still.
Look at the green under his eyes. Or it looks like green. Wow.
I know, isn't that incredible?
That's amazing.
And you're also seeing a lot of dust.
Sure.
So a lot of the fibers from our modern clothes have things called optical brighteners in them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they look really bright blue under UV.
Is there anything you learned about conserving this by looking at it under UV?
So to make a pastel, you have a binder and you have pigment, and that binder with time, in this case, it was probably an oil.
It might leach out?
Yeah, it essentially leaches out and kind of comes to the surface and appears like a white little crystal. So Abe meticulously under the microscope removed some of those crystals.
Look at that, man, that eyebrow.
I know.
He was working the eyebrow. So you were going to show me on the computer?
Yes, let's take a look here. So I will pull up 2 images. So here we have the after treatment image. And this was done initially in the beginning, but you can see very clearly the rosiness in his lips and cheeks. And that type of fluorescence or luminescence indicates it could be a rose madder, which is actually a dye-based pigment or a lake pigment. And what that means is a dye is essentially attached to a substrate. So it's usually a semi-transparent pigment like aluminum hydride.
Okay.
And so in this case, it fluoresces like crazy.
It's so amazing. And then also the fact that you can see all the red that he added to the face.
Yeah, exactly. You can zoom in.
That's
kind
amazing.
of peer around. You also see the paper itself.
Oh, look at that.
Oftentimes as paper degrades, it has soluble aging byproducts that fluoresce. And with paper objects, as you do treatments, if you do a washing treatment, sometimes you'll see a change in the fluorescence after washing. So.
And you had another illumination technique.
Yeah.
It wasn't IR. It was it wasn't UV. It was IR.
Yes, exactly. So we will move over to this piece.
This fancy lab.
Yeah. This is a portrait of James Purdy by Gertrude Abercrombie. It's from 1948, and it's an oil painting on masonite.
She's given him a mammoth neck.
Yeah, definitely. So she's a surrealist artist.
Oh, okay.
That may, inform her next style.
Sure.
But she also was a friend of the sitter. He was a writer.
I'm curious what happens when we look at this with IR.
Yeah. So let me start by turning on these lights. So these are halogen lights. Very bright, very warm. And actually, before we get into that, let's talk about this camera.
Okay.
Because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Okay.
So this is a standard DSLR camera. So you can get it from the store, but it's been modified. So it's called a full spectrum camera.
Right.
And so essentially what modification means, I'm going to take this filter off, is within the camera body, you have your mirror, and then behind the mirror is your sensor. Your sensor is often covered with a piece of blue glass when you get it just out of the box. And what that does is it blocks infrared and it blocks a little bit of UV, but mostly the infrared.
And I think I've seen photographs using this technique where the skies are really interesting colors that you don't see because we don't see into the infrared range.
Yeah, exactly. Like all your Hubble telescope photos, those are all capturing infrared energy generally in specific wavelengths. And they do a process called false color where they put them into different color channels and then you see an actual pretty image. So this is like the low-tech version of the Hubble telescope. So with that, because there's no blue filter there, our range of being able to capture the infrared is obviously made greater.
And unlike the other technique, this isn't something that we'll see here. It's something that we'll see in the photograph that you take.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
In order to compare images, we usually start with taking a visible light photo. So our normal light. So we add this filter to the camera and then we can capture our visible light. So I'll show you kind of how I do that here. So in order to get an even exposure across our treatment, we use this thing called a color checker. So those colors below. And so my ideal for the ideal exposure for consistency, I want my RGB values to read 200, 200, and 200.
Oh, okay.
From there, let's just go through visible light spectrum since we have it. Our visible light allows us to see from about 400 to 750 nanometers.
Okay, so this scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
The CMOS sensor, which is the type of sensor that's in that particular camera, takes us down to 300, so a little bit in our UV, and then all the way up to 1100.
Oh, wow.
So it's not a huge range, and let's look at it in live view. So it looks purple.
Oh, wow.
Which is totally normal. Don't panic. It's totally normal. So what we're doing here, I'm going to just choose our color temperature. So that makes it red, which is what we want to see. If you think about it, when we think about UV, it's more on the purple side of the visible light spectrum. IR is on the red side. So that's why the camera thinks in red.
Okay, that makes sense.
So from here, I'm going to just shoot it. And now the camera is super sensitive to IR, but we are blocking out a fair amount of visible light. So with the filtration, so I'm just going to up my exposure a little bit and see where that gets us.
Oh, a little more time. I heard that.
Yeah, in this particular one.
And you stripped color out.
Yeah. So I took the saturation down here. You can see the saturation down to 0. All right. So right off the bat, you see some things are going a little transparent. That like purpley pink has gone transparent. Some of the other like blues are kind of going. But if we look closely, we can really start to see some of the drawing technique. So carbon-based materials like graphite and charcoal, those are really visible. And what happens is it essentially absorbs the IR. So the image we're seeing is an image of reflecting or absorbing based on the material type. So carbon absorbs. So we can see his drawing here articulating where he wanted to place the mouth or where she wanted to place the mouth. We can see also around here, the hair. And also here as well.
Oh, very cool.
And then arguably the best part. You can see trees that were never painted.
Oh.
So right in this zone, let me zoom.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so you can see these trunks and branches that initially the artist planned to paint, perhaps, or when they were trying to figure out their composition, they placed them there, but ultimately decided not to place them in the final image.
That's very humanizing to picture them all those years ago making decisions on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And other things too we can learn about the artist. Like here, I can see some graphite images. She did sort of change a little bit where the specific plaid stripes were for the sitter's shirt.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I see what you mean. It's also nice too because I don't know if you ever draw, but I'm kind of a messy drawer and I get to see all of that. I get to see these artists just playing and seeing what happens and seeing where it lands.
There is, so many of the things in this building are things from the textbook, right? Like it isn't just something it sits in our cultural soul. And so to be able to get so close that you tease out the person and the personal is really awesome.
Yeah, and that's where this type of imaging, it's the most intimate time I ever get with any of the works that I treat.
That's really cool.
Sometimes we don't even do treatment on some objects. We just want to learn more about the artists. And this is one way to do that.
So have you come across, then, when you're finished getting to know a piece, do you write a report on what you've learned? Also, I'm assuming places you think are worth more investigation or a different technique.
Yeah.
You always want more investigation.
We don't always have the time.
Sure.
But, there are certain artists who people have researched and we're still discovering more about them.
And this is the thing with me every time. I just did some research for like 2 solid months. And 2 months in, I come to a fact that I feel like I should have learned on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
That's all my research is that process over and over.
And you're like, wow, it's so obvious. Like, what was I doing? But yeah, this is just one example of how this type of imaging can really reveal a lot about it. But I just love these trees.
It's amazing seeing them down there. This whole different idea about what the painting would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which again is also like, we understand that an artist is moving towards a target, and that is a process. And so every time imaging in different light spectra comes up, it reveals so much about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just also open up the visible light photo we captured. And then we can kind of zoom in and just really compare them. So this is that space before. You kind of get a little sense of those trees.
tiny.
But it's like it's not easily discernible. But then let's go over to our IR.
I got to say, the lines on the nose are so good.
I know.
It is such a perfect nose.
I know. It's so good. And
it's better here than it is there, too. It feels like.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe the nose was a little bit lower, and then perhaps the artist turned this old nose into the shadow underneath. You can see it here. And there's also this adjustment, too. Which was turned into a shadow, but, I really think that the nose placement was moved. Oh, yeah. Let's go back.
Wow. That's an amazing back and forth.
I know. You can really see.
Wow. And it's not like what we're looking at here is the original pencil sketch underneath the canvas. It's
a part of it.
Right.
Certain pigments, like I said, reflect IR so much that you actually can't get through the layers. And so when that's the case, you can't really access the underdrawing.
There's this whole style of painting around this time with these swatches of the color for the topography.
Yeah.
Look at the eyes.
I sometimes call it economy of paint. Like when an artist just makes one gesture with the brush and it does so much to either provide an expression or articulate a feature.
Well, there's one of the portraits of Washington. There's like stuff in the background and you get up close and it's like You could see someone just stabbing it with the brush.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that was necessary.
Yeah. Gesture is so real.
So this must, after you've gone through this process with the painting, this must change it forever for you in a unique way. Like, you get a particular e-ticket to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think more and more we're trying to have those tickets go out to everyone else in the public. Right. Increasingly, museums are incorporating conservation and conservation imaging into exhibitions and catalogs. We are technically trained individuals, but we're also really sensitive to art history. I would never remove the painting or add that tree in, but it's nice to learn about these artists and how they worked.
Yeah.
And show that off to people so they can see too.
I really like that you told me the painter is a surrealist, because that completely tracks with this portrait.
Yeah.
This portrait is weird in the edges, even though it clearly captures something essential about the subject.
Definitely. I mean, it's still so of the time too. Like when I think about the 1940s, like this style is it feels appropriate, but it's just a little weirder.
Well, there's also, so my father was a painter, and he loved John Singer Sargent's quote that a portrait is any painting in which there's something slightly wrong with the mouth. And it feels like they're almost leaning into this idea here, because it's a more mannerist portrait, right? It's really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, what a thrilling office you have. Thank you so much for showing me some of your wares.
Of course.